One. What is good, guys? It is crunch time yet again. In this episode 2 for the basketball edition, it's your boy Yusuf with the homie Jack and our first ever guest star, my boy from West Virginia, Dan. Dan's nice to have you.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem, no problem. Now, guys, the NBA, it just started. The play-in tournaments just finished. And my God, guys, I don't know about you, but I am just hella excited for what's to come. Like the past few games were just pretty interesting, especially the play-in tournaments. Like I felt like I was watching the finals. So getting started, the results from the NBA play-in tournament. I just want to get your reactions. Jack, we'll start off with you, my guy.
Well, I was kind of skeptical of the whole concept when it got started. I think it was kind of a bad idea to have the 9 and 8 and 10 seeds involved in each conference. I mean, you're not going to see a team like, I know they didn't make it, but like, say for example, like if the Bulls made it in, like we're not going to see the Bulls win the NBA, like have a shot at winning the title or even get to the second round in the conference. Like the Hornets, the Pacers, who have been having I know the Pacers have had their fair share of problems this season. The Hornets have been pretty good, and I was kind of surprised that they got bounced out as early as they did. But I think it's been great for the league. I know you guys saw that Golden State and Lakers game on the 18th. Awesome, absolutely amazing. LeBron deep dagger with one eye or whatever was going on. I didn't really see what was going on with his eye, but I know he was having some vision problems. Other games, Washington losing to Boston, Charlotte getting absolutely drubbed by Indiana. But I think it's been good for the league. I was sad to see the Warriors go out the way they did against. I think they lost to Memphis. So, but overall, I think it's been really good for the league. We've seen some great games come out of it. And I hope that they continue to implement this in the future from now on.
Agreed. Dan?
I thought it started off slow for sure. I mean, the first day, that Hornets Pacers game, that was tough to watch. The Hornets, they I don't really know what happened there. They just I don't think they were ready to go. And the Pacers had some injuries too. I mean, Miles Turner was out, and Karis LeVert, I was big for them. He had the COVID protocol thing, so he was out, and that was huge. That's 20 points on the bench right there. And then the Wizards game didn't go too well. I mean, Tatum dropped 50. It's impressive dropping 50, but the Wizards have like the worst defense in the league. So I take it with a grain of salt. And then like you said, I mean, the classic, that was an instant classic, the Warriors-Lakers. I mean, the Warriors started off hot. But the Lakers, they found their footing. They definitely found their footing in that game. LeBron at 34 feet. You can see by Curry's reaction, he was just thinking to himself. So that's what that feels like, to get someone hit a 34-foot shot on you. And then, I mean, I was sad. I agree with you, Jack, that it was sad to see the Warriors get bounced by the Grizzlies. I mean, I like the Grizzlies, but I really wanted to see Curry try to see what he could come up with against the Jazz. But unfortunately, I guess we'll have to settle for the Grizzlies. And I was glad the Wizards won. I mean, I like the Pacers, but I just kind of feel like not a lot of people want to watch the Pacers. They would rather see Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, see what they're dropping in. Even though I do think, I talked to Yusuf about this, I think Russell Westbrook's a little bit overrated. But we'll go some other time maybe. And then, the Spurs were the other team. I just don't think they should have been in it. I like Popovich, but DeMar DeRozan as well. I think his career is he's kind of done. I got a quick stat for you on DeMar DeRozan. So for DeMar DeRozan, his whole career, every year, every team he's been on, the team has been better with him on the bench.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
That's one year. They have been better with him on the bench than when he's on the game.
And that's after with like Toronto as well, right?
Yep, every year except one. 1 year.
That's actually absurd.
And he's just so ball dominant, man. He just shoots so many mid-range shots. I just don't think he fits in anymore. I mean, if you just look at his plus minus, I mean, he's minus 4.2 compared to a guy like, I compared him like CJ McCollum, who's plus 3.2, who's just more consistent. And I just think DeMar DeRozan's, I mean, like imagine DeMar DeRozan on as a 3 or 4 option. It just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. I just don't see him doing it.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And then for Russell Westbrook, I think the same kind of, I mean, I just think Russell Westbrook, he's so ball dominant. I mean, if you ever watch Russell Westbrook without the ball, he just kind of stands there at half court. And if you put Russell Westbrook on a team like the Warriors, I think they would actually get worse than they would get better. 100%.
Now,
go ahead.
I needed to get your straight opinion, Dan, because I know you want to do coaching in the end.
Right.
I know, like the Warriors during the Memphis game, that was basically the Warriors game to lose.
Yeah.
But your opinion on that last shot that Draymond did, that could have been the potential game winner.
I mean, you can look at it 2 ways. You could say you should have called timeout, Steve Kerr. I mean, they doubled Steph Curry at half court. They were not going to let Steph Curry shoot. They were going to quadruple team that boy if they had to. They were not going to let him. Draymond, I think he just rushed it. Draymond, I don't think will ever make a game-winning shot in the playoffs. I think he just gets too in his own mind. But I will say the only knock on Curry and Draymond is they had 12 turnovers through those playing games, and that's just not going to cut it. They had 12 turnovers together, and that's 6 a game, and that's just not going to get it done. I mean, if they want to, especially Curry, man, he's just sometimes with his handles, and he does this crazy, stupid pass. I mean, a couple of years in the NBA Finals, I remember he did a behind-the-back pass to Clay, and it went out of bounds with like 2 minutes to go, and Clay was just like, dude, why don't you just chest pass it? Like, why do you got to do behind the back? And it's just like Curry just sometimes with these passes, man. As great as he is, I mean, it's just like, what are you thinking? And then Draymond, I mean, to be honest, I'll take you on offense, Yusuf. As far as scoring, I mean, that guy, I mean, he puts up 4 points. I don't understand it, man. What does he do? Spend his time on?
I agree with that.
Listen, man, like every time I look at his stat line, I'm like, you can literally get anyone off the street and give them like $1,000 and they'll do the same exact thing.
I take nothing away from Draymond. I think he is an exceptional, a generational defender. I will take him. He's a Scottie Pippen-esque on defense, but he just has he's not even close to Scottie Pippen on offense. I mean, his passing is superb, and it's pretty crazy because they play, I mean, if you're guarding Draymond, you're in the paint, and he's still, diamond. But he just has no jump shot. None to speak of, and I don't understand why. I really don't understand. I mean, he's with the 2 greatest shooters of all time, and he can't. And it's Steve Kerr as the coach, and he still can't figure out a jump shot.
No excuses. This man's had time to do it.
That's what I'm saying.
And I remember maybe 5 years ago when the Warriors, were in the middle of their dynasty. I didn't find Draymond to be a terrible shooter, but compared to the Splash Brothers and all these other pieces that they've had who've been decent shooters on the Warriors. I mean, he's also, Yusuf, we talked about this during our last basketball episode. I think it was a month ago. I really think that he's kind of on the downspin of his career. I don't even think that Draymond should be playing for the Warriors at this moment in time. I think he's more of a detriment to them than he is helping them. Can't score. He is a generational defender. I will give you that. But I think that you could get some good. I think that you need to get some good trade value out of him while he's still putting up good defensive stats.
Now, I did see a couple of trade rumors. I'm assuming this is like an off-season move that the Portland Trailblazers actually are reportedly spreading interest for Draymond. But however, I feel like personally, would the Warriors actually give up Draymond? Like a lot of people say no, but I feel like this would be a prime opportunity for them to shed away the potential salary cap you're gonna have to pay him. Like, you don't know how Clay's gonna come back after his second Achilles injury that basically sidelined him literally before the NBA started. Now, I just want to get your general opinions. Like, where's some potential destinations? Like, in your opinion, where would he go?
I think that the Blazers would actually be a pretty good fit for Draymond. I mean, that's a team that's been riddled with very subpar defensive players for years. Like, the Blazers are a team that, they're going to put up big points, but on the defensive side of things, they're going to struggle. That was evident in, I think it was 2 years ago in the Western Conference Finals where they got swept out by Curry. And, the last year of that dynasty for Golden State, the same year that they got knocked out by the Raptors. But, I do think that it would be a good move to go there because I see Damian Lillard. You know what you said? You said you think Draymond's overrated. I think Damian Lillard is a little overrated, and I'm not knocking on him. He's a once in a lifetime offensive basketball player. You know, he's cold clutch, and we've seen it in the playoffs. When he has the opportunity, he can hit daggers. We're talking, I think it was 2013 or 2012, when he hit that game winner against Houston in Game 6. We're talking when he hit the game winner over Paul George a couple of years ago. You know, Dollar Dame, man can shoot. But on the other side of things, like he's never been a very good defender. You're going to put up points on him if you know you're the opposing point guard or shooting guard. But Draymond Green would add a good anchor, definitely on the inside part of the court, in the paint. Maybe not a great shooter, but I definitely think he would be a good starting small forward or power forward if he were to go to Portland.
Interesting. Dan, I wanted to get your opinion on that.
I don't see the Warriors trading him just because like Clay's coming back, and I think they want another go at it. Those three guys. It's kind of like Jordan in the end of the Last Dance. You know, he wanted one more go at it, and I think I don't think they're just going to get rid of him. I think after next year, I think if Clay comes back and they do the same thing they did this year, I think then the parts will be moving. I think then they'll kind of just separate them. But I don't think they're ready to trade him just yet, just because of that fact that Clay wasn't there. And Kelly Oubre got hurt. It was just kind of like an influx year. I honestly, I don't think they would trade him to the Blazers just because they wouldn't want him in the West still. I think the Wizards would be a good fit because the Wizards have like the worst defense in the league, or at least bottom third. So I think if the Wizards got him, that could really help them on defense. I mean, the Wizards have a good offense. They don't really need a scorer. So if they could get him, that would definitely help solidify that defense a little bit because
Robin Lopez needs help in there. Absolutely.
Well, they have Alex Len, who's not bad, but I just think, I mean, Russell Westbrook's the mediocre defender at best, and Bradley Beal's not going to give you much. So I think Draymond could play 1 through 5, and Robin Lopez and Len, you're not going to put them on a 1, but Draymond Green can cover anybody. So that would definitely help solidify that defense for them.
Now, speaking of the play-in results, we did get like majority of the game ones of round ones of the actual NBA playoffs. Well, I'm gonna start off with the game 1 against Miami and the Milwaukee Bucks. It was basically, a lot of people say, a luck game winner from Chris Middleton scoring like the go-ahead bucket from, what was it, from like maybe 10 feet deep. I don't know, like, but I just wanted to get your ideas on like what games like kind of like you thought that was pretty interesting, like some like underrated type matchups we're gonna see. So I'm gonna start off with Jack. Jack, I'm gonna give you the floor. What do you have in mind?
Well, two kind of come to mind right off the bat. You talked about the Milwaukee-Miami game. That's not on the list, but I'll start off with a game that just wrapped up on Friday, Portland and Denver. I thought, because I believe they're playing tonight, right? Game 2, what is today? May 23rd at the time of recording. So basically, I mean, I was really surprised. I knew that it was going to be a big struggle for Denver coming into the postseason without Jamal Murray. But I mean, they did really good down the stretch when he got hurt. I still see them as maybe not a contender in the West, but at least a team that can definitely make it to the second round of the playoffs. And like we've been saying, Portland, like they just can't get it done, and it's not very, like they just can't get it past like the second round, most years. And I mean, look, it's a 7-game series. Obviously, this isn't the NFL. It's a one and done. Like where a 9-7 team could, make the playoffs, like, and win the whole thing based off of luck. I mean, the reason that there is a 7-game series implemented is for 2 reasons. One being that, you're not going to, it's basketball, it's still a contact sport, but you're not going to get hurt as much. And the second reason is to find out who the true best team in the league is. It's very hard that we ever find real upsets in series. And I know that we've seen it before, but it doesn't always happen. But overall, I was just really surprised by Portland's performance, and Denver losing by 14. They still have, the Joker. So I think that they'll come back, and I think they'll win the series, maybe in 6 games. I think that Portland will steal another one from them, but it was a good game. The other game that I wanted to mention, just wrapped up, I believe. What was it, like maybe 30 minutes ago? Some at the time of recording, the Suns Lakers. Um, I thought after that Chris Paul injury, I thought after that Chris Paul going down, I really thought that the Suns were going to be in trouble. And after I saw that, I was thinking to myself, okay, well, the Lakers are now going to win this series in maybe 4 or 5 games, because I like Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. Say what you want about him, he's still a productive player. Kind of worth keeping on the team in the starting lineup. But they stuck with it. They pulled it out. They kept ahead of LeBron. Obviously, the Lakers are going to make this a tough series. I really want the Suns to win this series. We've heard guys like Stephen A talk on First Take. These guys are one piece away from being a finals contender. You know what? Maybe they said that about Toronto back in 2018. I think it's a similar situation to that. So I don't really think we know the extensiveness of Chris Paul's injury yet. I hope it's minor. I hope he can get back on the floor. Leg injuries are always, a bit of a gamble to, bet on. I think he might be done for the rest of the series. I really hope not, but I just hope that the Chris Paul effect comes into full view if he comes back in the series.
Well, he actually did play the rest of the game, Jack.
Oh, he did play the rest of the game.
Yeah,
I apologize.
He did play, but it's supposedly it said like a minor shoulder injury. Dan, you can help me out on this. You and me were both watching this.
Shoulder contusion, they said, but Chris Paul, he's known for being soft, so I don't know.
My apologies, guys. I thought it was his leg, and B, I did not know he came back in the game. So that's my mistake.
He wasn't the same, though. That was clear. His handles were, Yusuf, you saw it. His handles were all over the place. He lost the ball on a lot more. They weren't even pressuring him. He was losing the ball. At one point, he goes like this. He didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Okay, he was dribbling a potato or something out there. So if that continues, look, it'll definitely have a big impact on the series because they'll start pressing him, and he did not look comfortable out there after that shoulder injury. I'm not sure what the extent is, but
all right, one series that like I do know a lot of people say like are going to be pretty much the end all be all, but I feel like this is going to be the upset, the true underdogs, the Dallas Mavericks beating the Clippers 113-103. Now, I'm being honest, a lot of people wrote this series off as like, oh, the Clippers are going to win. They got PG, they got Kawhi. There's no way that Luka Doncic himself is going to basically carry this team. But during that first game, Luka was just playing this game. He had 41 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists. Oh, mistake. 31 points and 41 minutes.
Right.
But after that, he was just dominant. Like he basically stole the show, and basically it was a wake-up call for the Clippers. Like this is basically a do or die situation for them, because if they lose this and basically lose it out in a sweep potentially, I believe Kawhi's gone. Like you didn't give him a max contract. You gave PG this absurd, for like what was it, 400 mil or $100 million contract for 4 years. And honestly, to me, guys, like I believe this is just the beginning of the end for the Clippers. Like they failed Kawhi, and Kawhi is going to go and potentially leave for a better contender.
Well, I do kind of agree with you there. And I'm going to be honest with you, even before all of this, even before, the loss yesterday, I love Dallas, by the way. I love the chemistry that they have. I love Luka Doncic. I love KP. KP, maybe not as good as he was on the Knicks, maybe not as big of a piece as he was on the Knicks, but I do like KP. I like the team that they've had built around them. And I think that they're definitely like a contender. I think that they can definitely make it to the Western Conference Finals. But on the flip side of things, I think that this whole battle for LA thing where, Western Conference Finals, definitely going to be Clippers, Lakers. Buddy, no, that's not how it was going to go down. Because let me tell you right now, Paul George did not earn that money. This man does not perform in the playoffs. We've seen it time and time again. He's just the guy who gets put on the poster when somebody hits a 3-point dagger over him in the playoffs in a Game 7 situation. I like Kawhi Leonard. He's killed 3 dynasties, in different ways. Either he leaves and kills one, or he just kills somebody else's. But I don't think that the Clippers really mesh, and I think that they have a good team. but I just don't think that they have a team that's good enough to carry them to even the Western Conference Finals. I think that they're overhyped. I think that I do definitely think that this might be Kawhi's last year, based on, not getting the max contract. I think he deserved that money a lot more than Paul George did. Kawhi Leonard, he's earned his money and he's not getting it. And now, the consequences are being shown. They're probably, I'm not going to say they're going to get bumped by the Mavs. I'd like to see it because I want to see the Mavs go far in these playoffs. I think there's a lot of teams in the Western Conference that can compete for making it to the finals, not just the Lakers, as much as everybody wants to say that it's the Lakers conference. This is an open conference. So overall, yeah, I'm not impressed with what the Clippers have done to build around PG and Kawhi. I think that this is probably going to be Kawhi's last year in LA, and I don't blame him for leaving either.
I agree. 100% agree. Dan, you have any comments?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of conspiracies going around that they were tanking at the end of the season to avoid the Lakers, funny enough, to get to the Mavericks because they didn't want to play. Which I mean, listen, like Charles Barkley said, I don't agree with a lot of his takes. And I mean, I don't think he's the sharpest tool in the shed, but when he said, as long as he's lived, one thing's been consistent, the Clippers have stunk. Absolutely. So I just think they're just a choking organization. We saw it last year. I mean, they blew that lead. You could say it was the bubble. You could say it's lemon pepper Lou, as Stephen A. Smith says, but I just don't know what it is about them, but they just find a way to lose. I guess they thought Doc Rivers getting rid of him. And even though Doc Rivers does have a history of choking, I will give them that as well. Ty Lue, I don't know if, he got carried by LeBron, I like to think. So I wouldn't bank too hard on Ty Lue changing it. And real quick, I do think for the playoff matchups, I think the toughest draw, obviously besides the Suns having to play the Lakers, I think it was probably actually Milwaukee having to play the Heat. Not a team you want to see in a 7-game series. Jimmy Buckets over there, just as fierce of a competitor as they come, honestly. And I mean, they're just a grizzled team. And I just got to say, man, Jay Crowder, that guy is just always on a playoff team that's good. I mean, every year, that guy, Jay Crowder, the Suns, the Cavs, I mean, he's always just like in there somehow. And that guy is just a consistent veteran. And he's like Andre Iguodala, just that guy who comes in there and just does his job. Now, I don't know if he's Finals MVP worthy, but he does what he's got to do. So I definitely think the Bucks. That's my team to come out of the East. I like the Bucks. I think the last 2 years they've been the 1 seed, and it just got to their heads, man. I think Drew Holiday will help. They got PJ Tucker, who I actually like a lot. I think he's underrated, and I think Giannis is gonna perform. I think here's the only problem with that: his free throw shooting. It's just atrocious. And honestly, we saw it yesterday. I mean, he almost blew the game for them. I mean, it's just down a stretch, 1 of 4, whatever it was, 2 of 5. I mean, it's just not going to get it done. 10-second violation. I mean, dude, shoot the ball. What are you doing? So I think that's the only thing that can hold him back. I mean, Chris Middleton, that was a hell of a shot. But I mean, one thing I didn't like was Giannis. I mean, he stood in the dunker spot and didn't even move. I mean, he didn't even try to go give me the ball because he didn't want to be at the foul line. He didn't want to take the shot. He didn't want the foul line. He's afraid of it. So if he doesn't get that work fixed, they won't win. And I don't know if we're waiting to talk about the Nets or if we're just going right into the Nets.
You
please go. Do. That's the team I got takes on.
Listen, they got 3 generational talents. I mean, you can't. I mean, Kyrie, Harden, and KD. What I saw was, whose turn is it to go? It's like pickup ball. If you have the 3 best players, okay, you want to go now? You want to play? All right, here's the ball. You go play one-on-one, and we're all just going to stand around and do 5 out. But no one's cutting. And that's what I saw. I didn't like it. They're not going to make it with that approach. That's the difference with KD when he was on the Warriors, man. They were moving. They were cutting. They had all that flow. Their defense was crazy still. Their defense was crazy good. The Nets' defense is horrible. Their defense is not good. And I don't think the Nets will win it unless they get some chemistry going. I mean, they only played 8 games together. Those got 3 guys, 9 games. And I mean, obviously they can outscore anybody any day of the week, and it'll be tough to beat them in 4 times. But I think Milwaukee, and I think they can beat them. I don't think the Sixers can beat them. I just don't think Joel Embiid. I just don't think they got it. I don't think they have the scores unless Tobias Harris does what he does today. What do you have, like 30 points or something? But
I totally agree you on that with the Nets. Like honestly, like they only played like a total of 9 games together,
Yeah.
which is kind of like absurd. Like don't get me wrong. Like if they managed to pull it off and get the finals, like then that's absurd. Like they did better than any other like trio or
I mean, they're
powerhouse.
still the favorite somehow too,
But like
betting odds. So
but also they're kind of like I did notice this before, and Jack, I also have another friend that's a Nets fan, and he showed me this. They're a second half team. Like I know I didn't notice this during the Celtics game, but once the third quarter hit, they were a completely 180 team. Like they were just
yeah,
dominating, just pure scoring.
I I
This
I did see that. There was a lot of concern going on in the first half. I know they were down by 12 at one point. I was watching. Um, and Katie had that scary fall. Not a lot was clicking in the first half. But you know what? I disagree. I think that the Nets are going to win this whole thing. You know what? Like we can make all our hot takes our want and our like our controversial opinions on the Bucks going all the way. Let me tell you right now, outside of Giannis, and you can say what you want about Chris Middleton, I don't really see a complete team here. And I think that that's the reason that they've been bounced so early in the past 2 years is because we've overhyped Giannis and we think that he's the one guy who can be, the guy who carries the whole team. This guy is an Allen Iverson. I'm telling you right now. I don't think that he can lead a team all the way. And as far as the defense goes, I completely agree with you, by the way. The Nets have an atrocious defense, and they really haven't done anything to address it over the course of the season. We know James Harden has a history of being a terrible defender and all these other things, but this is an offensive league. These are grown men who are getting paid to play a child's sport. And you know what? Like, I mean, that's not derogatory to the NBA. I love watching basketball, but this isn't the 1990s. This isn't even the mid 2000s where you see teams like the Spurs and the Rockets and all these other guys finish in games where the score is like 73-71. That's like mid third quarter numbers these days. If you see a team like it amazes me that at one point only 15 years ago we were seeing guys score that low across the board. So I think this is an offensive league now. And I think that's what the Nets have. I think that's the way that the Nets have approached this. Boston scared me a little bit, and I think they're going to get a game in this series. I don't think the Nets are going to sweep them. I like Jason Tatum. I know that Jaylen Brown's out. The Celtics are going to get a win or two, without a shadow of a doubt. But I think the Nets could win the East. I just see on paper when all three of those, it just all added up now because we can say, oh, they only met I just dropped a ruler on the floor. You can say they only played 9 games in the regular season. They still did great. And, all the numbers we see, like when Harden and Durant were playing together, I think when those two played together, that was like the best record of like the 3-man rotation. They did better than when all 3 of them were on the floor and when Kyrie and KD were playing together. So I think as long as I like Irving, but I think that he's the weak link out of those 3. So as long as you have a top guy like Durant or Harden playing on that team, and let's not even forget about the side pieces. Joe Harris, always a great 3-point shooter. There's just so many pieces on this team. Look, Blake Griffin is not the early 2010s Blake Griffin that we came to know and love, but he's still showing that he can produce a little bit. I like Landry Shamet. I like they signed a bunch of those guys to the 10-day contracts at the end of the season who actually ended up doing very well. To the point where like the worst player on this team is probably like Tyler Johnson, and that's not even like really a bad thing to say. So I see them going all the way. I think they're gonna have trouble with the Sixers. I think that's gonna be like a 6 or 7 game series. I think they're gonna go over them. I see them. I think my finals prediction: if the Lakers get out of the first round, Nets over Lakers, 7-game series in the finals.
really. So you're hella confident the Lakers are gonna go all in into the finals, even being the 7th seed.
I'm not even confident about that. The only reason that they're in the 7th seed is because of LeBron and AD's injury, like late into the season. They were all set to be the number 1 or 2 seed until that kind of fell apart on them and fell in their face. But and that's a big if, because I like the Suns and I think that they have a good chemistry and a good culture going on down there in Arizona. And I think that there's a huge chance that they beat the Lakers in this series. A lot of people, disagree. Like a lot of people who I know personally disagree with me on that. I think that the timing is right for the Suns, and Stephen A's right. Maybe they need one more piece, but this is the Lakers are prey right now. The Lakers are weak. weaker than they've been all season. I'm not saying they're weak. This is obviously a team that's still a finals contender, but LeBron isn't 100%. AD's not playing with the same ability that he played last season and maybe even earlier on this season. They proved that, like during that stretch where they fell from like the 1 or 2 seed all the way down to like play-in tournament material where they ended up, like they can't handle the situation without both of those guys on the floor. So overall, like if you're going to depend on 2 guys for this whole thing, then you're not going to win a championship. So I think that the Suns could win this. I think the Suns could win this series. I think it's going to go to like 6 or 7 games, no matter what. But I think the Suns have a shot.
Dan, any comments? I see you getting a little riled down there.
Hey, I'm just saying, man. Throughout history of the NBA, like you said, 7-game series. It's not the regular season. You can throw out KD, Harden, and Kyrie in 1-game series, and you're probably right. They're going to win 10 out of 10, or unless, a miracle on the ice here, 9 out of 10. But 7-game series, so I think defenses will adjust. Now, it's not going to matter against the Celtics. They're missing Jaylen Brown. They just don't have it this year. I mean, they're gonna put up a little bit of a fight, and they might win game 3 or 4, and probably game 4 in Boston, probably by the skin on their nose. But when they play Milwaukee, Milwaukee's beating them. I think they might have actually won the season series against the Nets. And yeah, you could say they weren't there, but they got. I mean, Drew Holiday's better than Eric Bledsoe any day of the week. I mean, he's an all defensive team guy, and I think Kyrie is not locked in. I think he's wherever land. He said he's got bigger priorities in basketball. I mean, that guy's just always floating around.
He is weird. He's very weird. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, I don't know what his problem is. I think that will backfire eventually especially on the defensive end. I mean, you got to be locked in. Offense, you got cruise control. You can just kind of chill. But defense, if you're not locked in, man, it's going to show. That's a 5-man show over there on defense. And Harden has shown a lack of defense. I don't like Joe Harris on defense at all. I mean, Kevin Durant, he can be a stud defender if he wants to be, just because of his length. But I just think Milwaukee has a lot less pressure on him this year because they're the 3 seed rather than the 1 seed. And I do think it'll come down to free throws for Giannis. And if he's just not hitting them, then you're right. The Nets they're gonna beat him. There's no doubt about it. But if he can hit his free throws, I think it's a different story. Because, I mean, he's just 60%, 69%, whatever it is. It's not going to cut it in the NBA playoffs. And I just like their defense a lot. I really do like their defense a lot. And, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm not as confident I think the Western Conference is honestly more open than the Eastern Conference. I mean, look at the 7 seed Lakers. You got the Mavericks. I mean, the Eastern Conference, Nets, Sixers, Bucks. It's going to be one of the 3. The other teams, listen, Yusuf, I know you're a Knicks fan, but they're just not going to get it done, man. So you look at those 3, and it's going to be one of those 3 without a doubt. And I don't think the Sixers are going to get it. So I think next series, Nets, Bucks, I think that's the champion. That's the NBA Finals guy right there. Whoever comes out of that series, unless they really rag on each other and get tired, and then the Sixers roll over the Hawks or Knicks. I think that next series will decide who comes out of the East. The West, I don't know. I mean, it's wide open. I think the Jazz without Donovan Mitchell, I don't think they're going to win. I think they'll beat the Grizzlies still, but I don't think they're going to win. I don't think they pull it out. The Jazz, even though they have like 3 other All-Stars, but or guys who could have made the All-Star team. But I don't know. The Western Conference is more open, but I mean, the Nets, we'll see if they lock it on defensively, they can they could win, but I just don't know if Kyrie. His head's there, and I don't know if a lot of the other guys want to put forth the effort that it takes on defense. And like you said, Blake Griffin, he's just not the player he used to be. And LaMarcus Aldridge, that was a surprise. Him retiring, that was out of left field. He said, "I'm out. I don't want a title. I'm out of here."
Speaking of retirees, 2 weeks ago, the NBA Hall of Fame inductees were announced. I have the list here. You had the legendary Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Eddie Sutton, the head coach. Same with Rudy Tomjanovich. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right.
Like Tom Janovich.
It was what was it, Dan?
Oh, wait, what's his last name? Isn't it
Tom
Janovich?
Yeah, Tom Janovich.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Sorry if I'm botching the names, viewers, but anyway, like it was kind of emotional, to be honest, because these are like guys that you, me, and including you, Jack, like we've been watching since they were in their prime. Like we were like in diapers.
First
while
one.
reading,
This is like the first class for that too, you know?
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree with that
Crazy.
100%.
I'm definitely questioning next year's class. I'm not a fan. I think it's slim pickings for the NBA if they're picking Chris Bosh and Tony Kukoc.
And
Gosh,
I
whatever.
saw Paul Pierce is gonna headline it as
I
well.
think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't
think-
think. I don't like Chris. I mean, Chris Bosh, man. I mean, listen, the guy was good. He had his run, but Hall of Famer's a stretch. That's all I gotta say. I think it's just for him.
Definitely not first ballot. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and Tony Kukoc, I mean, he was with the Bulls. I mean, he had Michael Jordan as a teammate, just like Chris Bosh had LeBron. And I don't like Tony Kukoc going in. I mean, I like it for me because I'm able to justify LeBron over Jordan more because of that Hall of Famer right there. But Chris Bosh and him, I don't know if they're on that with Paul Pierce. I don't think they're in the same level.
And isn't Chris Webber also in it?
Yeah, I like Chris
He
Webber.
is.
I like Chris Webber. I think he should be in. That guy was a stud for a couple years there. He was really good. I mean, I read Phil Jackson's book, 11 Rings, and he talks about those series with the Lakers, Shaq, Kobe versus Chris Webber, those Kings, Mike Bibby, you know, those guys. Those series. He talks about how tough that was to compete against Chris Webber. So,
all right. So Dan, I'm gonna give you the floor for a couple seconds. Like, I wanted to get your reactions on your top 3 Hall of Famers that basically I want to say inspire you, or like your fan favorites. I just wanted to get your opinion on them, like
one of all time.
of all time.
Oh my God!
This is like
Yeah, you put me on the spot. Holy moly!
Hey man, this is our childhood. Like, these are guys that are part of our childhood, and
we're talking about anybody who's ever been inducted in the Hall.
Yeah,
of
you talking
Fame.
about anybody?
Is that
What
we're talking about?
You really put me on hard here.
no, not in that sense, but the class of 2020, I should say.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, I'll give you more like. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'll give you my order. I mean, I can't even lie. I was never a huge fan of Kobe. I thought he was just like the biggest ball hog ever growing up. Honestly, that guy was just jacking him up all the time. The more I've learned about KG, man, the more I've just enjoyed. I mean, that guy was his interview when he was with the Timberwolves, and he's just crying and saying, "Because I'm not winning," is just crazy. And then they say how he puts up these crazy numbers, and then he just goes, "This isn't golf. This isn't tennis. This is a team sport, man." And that's what it's all about right there. That's a guy who wants to win with the team. It's not just about his stupid stats or his MVP or all defensive team, man. He just wants to win with the team. And that's something that really stood out for me. Tim Duncan, my dad always said growing up, the most underrated player of all time. And I tend to agree with that statement. The most underrated power forward, if you will give him power forward. Some people say center. It's kind of a debate. I think Shaq's the greatest center ever. But power forward, I think Tim Duncan, one of a kind. I mean, that guy, he said he didn't pick up a basketball until he was, 13, 16? I mean, and to be that good, it's unbelievable. I mean, that guy said he took 10,000 bank shots at the end of practice all the time, or 1,000, whatever it was. I mean, it's just Tim Duncan, man, is just in a class of his own. I mean, 5-time champion. You could say the Spurs organization was crazy, but
well, he was definitely the centerpiece of that.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, him and David Robinson, he had a great mentor in David Robinson. I mean, the absolute stud the Admiral was. And just him and the Twin Towers, they called them. I mean, those guys were just unbelievable. And Tim Duncan, that guy is just – he was how old? 36, 37, giving LeBron and the Heat fits, man. Taking them to 7, beating them in 5. Obviously Kawhi in the second year was much more developed as a player, but – those guys, man, I'll tell you what, Tim Duncan, I think Tim Duncan's my favorite, I got to say. But, him and KG, they're right next to each other. I think Kobe's the best player overall in that class for sure. But I think KG and Tim Duncan's a toss-up for me. Who was better out of those two? I don't go by rings, because if you go by rings, then obviously, Tim Duncan wins. But KG didn't have those teams Tim Duncan had. You look at the Timberwolves. They never had consistent players like that. So I think Tim Duncan, but I will say though one thing, Yusuf, and I don't know how much pickup ball you've played, Jack, but I look at Tim Duncan, I look at KG, and it's you're just playing say you're at West Virginia Direct Center or something, Yusuf, and you see those two guys walk in, you're like, yo, I want KG on my team. But you're not thinking Tim Duncan's about to go drop 20, 10, and 10 on you, man. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I can understand
Duncan
that.
does not look like a baller, but he is a baller, man. That's
Like,
one thing I love about Duncan. He does not look like one.
I 100% agree with you. Like, honestly, like Tim Duncan, honestly, like when a young age when I was playing that power forward position,
Yeah.
like I was looking at videos on YouTube, not on like all the flashiness of everybody else was doing in that position, but it was mostly due to the fact like Tim Duncan, they
Consistent.
called him the basic fundamentals for a reason. Like
consistent, man.
like it's
System guy.
It's nonstop consistent. And
exactly.
I'm gonna take a little quote out Greg Popovich note. Like, why change something that's not broken?
Mhm.
Like everybody hates the bank shots, but I'm just like, it's not broken. 80% of your shots are gonna go in if you use the backboard.
Him and D Wade, yup.
No flash, all substance. That's what that was right there. The bank shots.
Now,
So sorry to interrupt. I was gonna do my three, and obviously that's the big three for these finals. I mean, we got, you know, like you said, Eddie Sutton, Roy Tomjanovich. Again, hope I'm pronouncing that right. I think I am. But basically, I guess I'll just give kind of like my spiel on what I think of those three, like personally. Kevin Garnett. I you know what's funny? I'm not as big into the NBA as I am the NFL. If we were talking about the NFL, I probably wouldn't have messed up on that whole, you know, Chris Paul thing earlier in the video with his injuries and stuff like that if I was as into it. But I will say this. I knew Kevin Garnett as a Celtic more than I did as a Timberwolf.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, viewing those teams with like Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo, led by Doc Rivers. That's kind of how I remember That's how I kind of remember KG. Kind of just a really fundamental piece in like a bigger picture. And you could say the same thing about Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was obviously the centerpiece of those teams, you know, like you said, great mentor in David Robinson. But when it became his team, and, you know, they built an amazing team around him, Tony Parker, you know, Manu Ginobili, all these other great guys, all these other great fits on that team. They made Danny Green look good, which is impossible these days. Patty Mills, like all these other guys, like they really didn't have a super weak link on that team. And that's why, and you know, not to mention Kawhi Leonard, you know, the future, you know, superstar that he was going to be. So I remember Tim Duncan. My dad loved Tim Duncan. Always said he was just one of the classiest guys in the NBA. Just kind of carried himself well. And just think about how dominant he could have been if Popovich like let the leash off of him, because Popovich knew what he was doing. He knew they were going to play like a more European style, like team basketball, you know, because I think Popovich was he was involved in something like with the military. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, he went to the for college. He went to the Army or Naval Academy, I think.
Yeah, he did. So and you know, same thing as Robinson did. So overall, I think it was just it was a great fit for him. Maybe not the best for his individual standpoints, but the guy's got rings to make up for it. And then obviously Kobe Bryant. Now, I was kind of in the same boat as you, Dan. I was not a huge Kobe guy when he was playing. I always thought he was selfish. I thought that, you know, he was a complete ball hog, hacking up like 30, 40 shots a night, not really having a great percentage behind it. I think that I feel like he low key or maybe even high key, I don't really know, idolized Michael Jordan's playing style, where, you know, super serious guy, you know, you got to be a jerk to your teammates sometimes. You just got to go out there and do the best that you can for the team. And obviously, you know, he won 5 titles out of it. I mean, it annoyed Shaq enough where Shaq left, but you know what, he got enough out of Shaq that he wanted. And then they started winning titles with Pau Gasol, and, you know, those battles that they had with the Celtics back in the late 2000s. And, you know, it's funny because what's that old saying about absence makes the heart grow fonder or something like that? Because after Kobe, you know, died in that, you know, obviously like tragic incident, I've really come to like kind of reanalyze how I view Kobe. And I do play a little bit of pickup ball. I'm not great, but, you know, I kind of relate to Kobe. Like you said you relate to like Duncan or Garnett because you know, they were power forwards, and you've been playing power forward almost your entire life because you're taller than the average man. I'm 5'11 and 3/4. I'm never going to say I'm 6 foot because I would just be lying to myself for my own ego. So playing point guard and shooting guard my entire life, I look at guys like Kobe and Jordan, and I kind of I don't like I view them when I'm playing the game. Like when I'm going like 0 for 8 and and maybe like 6 turnovers, maybe like 2 assists, I think to myself, what would Kobe do? Like I really try to unlock that Mamba mentality when I play. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's why I like wearing baggy clothes when I play because I know that he always did that. So in a way, without even really knowing it, I did kind of idolize Kobe. I always make my 2K player based off of him, based off of his credentials. I look up videos on how to make his build. So at the end of the day, I respect Kobe Bryant a lot more now than I did when he was actually playing.
Absolutely. I got 2 quick things to add, you said, before we move on, or you give your spiel here.
Okay.
One was a quote by Greg Popovich when Tim Duncan retired, with tears in an eye. He said, "Thank you for being coachable." And that's the biggest thing for young kids. You're never above the coach. All right. You're never too great to be coachable, man. Just let the coach. If he didn't listen to Greg Popovich, man, they wouldn't have succeeded 5 times. Tony Parker, Kawhi Leonard, these guys wouldn't be the same without Tim Duncan just being like, hey, this is the coach and he knows what's best for me. So I really appreciate that, Tim Duncan. That's what I really respect about him. Like you said, Jack, just the classiest guy, man. Just came, did his work, and left. You know, he wasn't on ESPN dunking over people. And he wasn't gonna. No one wants to see a backboard shot. Like nobody cares about that. Get 12 rebounds a night. Who cares? But 5 rings. Hey, I'll take that over the ESPN highlights. That's all I know. Okay, I'll take it over the Blake Griffin jumping over a car dunk because I got 5 rings. Brian Scalabrine, he'll take his 1 ring, being a bench warmer. You know what I'm saying? So, and then all I got to say about Mamba mentality is Yusuf knows him. Joel Opio, former friend. I'll never forget one time during intramurals, that man, he played defense. He was lockdown defender. He got scored on 1 time. We ended up killing his team. Joel goes, I go, man, great game on defense. He goes, not good enough. He scored on me 1 time. Mamba mentality. I go, all right, my guy, I love it. That's Mamba mentality in a nutshell. That guy had it down.
Hey, man, that's the effect of these guys, man. Like they inspired like future generation stars. Like for example, some of the guys are even our age that are in the NBA right now. A lot of them look up to him.
Absolutely.
Like I'll put him on the spot. Like Jason Tatum, he said he followed Kobe and tries to practice everything that he did. I'm trying to think of a pretty good power forward, but also maybe Joel Embiid. He's trying to focus on the fundamentals, just like how like Tim Duncan would be. And then like the person that would match Kevin Garnett's energy, quote unquote, the first person in my mind is, well, actually 2. Patrick Beverly and Draymond Green. Like they don't have to be like the best person on the court, but they're gonna have to do their job well to an elite level. To where like basically anybody will want you on your team because you got that heart, you got that scrappy mentality. You just go in and do your work. And honestly, man, like these guys, they'll live on. Their legacy is gonna live on forever.
That was funny about KG too. They said they actually criticized him for shooting those 18-foot jump shots as a power forward. They said, you got to stay in the post. You got to stay low. What are you doing, man? Like Tim Duncan. But he revolutionized. He transcended the game for those guys who are the other power forwards who was like, I don't have to stand under the basket and do a stupid hook shot every time.
Prime example.
If the 3-pointer was as prioritized as it was now when he played, I mean, he could have shot easily 30-35% for a power forward. I mean, he was pulling up from 2 feet in front of the line. It's not like, I mean, like he loved those 20-footers, man. That Chris jump shot with that, I don't know what that's called, the thing he had on his finger. What's that, finger guard or something, whatever that was. But
so it's like a little prime like equivalence, like when you said revolutionize, like Anthony Davis, like he's he's a prime example of that. Who else is like Porzingis is another one. He's almost 8 foot tall and he's shooting threes.
I know, like, exactly.
You can't tell me otherwise. Like that's what I like with these guys. Like they've been there our entire lives, and we try to be the best we can be because of these guys.
Right.
So I give them my respects 100%.
Yep. That's what KG. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally
He took the
agree.
heat, man.
But anyway, moving right along, guys. This is a very close race. I'm gonna talk about the MVP candidates. Now, accordingly, the top three right now, I presume, is Stephen Curry, uh, Nikola Jokic from Denver, and I believe Joel Embiid from the
Right.
Philadelphia 76ers. I believe LeBron did he move up to the fifth spot? Anyone know? Or
I'm not
six?
sure. I think they just give the top three. I don't know what the other ones are.
You know, wait, now this might confuse me. Do they incorporate like playoff performances in the
No,
MVP
no,
race? They
no.
don't. I didn't think that they did. Yeah.
It's,
So
that's a whole
Although
entire different
there's a lot of
MVP.
debate going on. Nobody knows what the playing games count as. So they said they're not playoff, but then they said they're not regular season. I don't know. So I guess they're just their own kind of like specific bubble. I don't know. They haven't. I don't know if they're looking at playing games or not.
So, Jack, I'm gonna start off with you. Who's your guy for that MVP candidate? Like, who deserves it more?
it's got to go to Curry just because of the way that he's carried the Warriors into the playoffs. Literally, I said it in that one. I said it in the one video. Call this man Greg Jennings because he put the team on his back. And like we said, Draymond Green hasn't been playing super well this season, always a stout defender. He doesn't really have a lot of help on offense. You know, the injuries to Oubre and their rookie this year. I keep forgetting what his name is. It's Edwards, correct? Or am I thinking about somebody else? Anthony Edwards. Yeah. So
James Wiseman.
James Wiseman. That's
Anthony
right.
Edwards is on the Timberwolves.
That's right. My mistake. So all in all, I mean, this guy, all those we saw so many 40-point games, and this guy was scoring 30s, upper 30s, like it was nothing throughout the last stretch of the season. And I think they're going to give it to Jokic. I think based off of politics and everything like that. I mean, Antetokounmpo might even deserve a shot at it, but the only problem with him is that he's won it the last 2 years, and I think the NBA politically wants to keep things fresh in the race, whether he deserves it or not.
Yeah.
So I really think it belongs to Curry for his performances that he's had in this last stretch. I like Embiid. I think Embiid is probably the second runner. Jokic barely even cracks my top three, if that. I think guys like Doncic, there's so many other people who I think are more worthy for this thing than Jokic was. Consistency or not, I think you got to look at who made headlines this year and who was playing the most lights out, insane games throughout the course of the year. And I think that was Curry. So I think it's honestly a true crime if Stephen Curry doesn't win the MVP award for the 2020-2021 National Basketball Association season.
Now I'm gonna have to disagree with you. Like the go-to guy, Nikola Jokic. Like a lot of people will be like, "What? Wait, why is he like in contention? Like, oh, is it because like his team's doing so good?" But I believe you haven't seen that Portland game before. Like Dame decided to pop off. Like Nikola Jokic, he's basically a borderline point center. Maybe first in the generation. Like this man will literally just take up the ball, run the offense, and it's not like he goes and dominates and just goes right into the post and tries to score on you. He's looking for that open guy 9 times out of 10. And 9 times out of 10, like you have Jamal Murray, Michael Porter, and other role players just helping out and doing their job. And it's getting them to a point where like they're the third seed. This is like something like we haven't seen before. So I believe he deserves that MVP. Now, don't get me wrong, Curry is a phenomenal shooter, like what generation type phenomenal shooter. But there's a quote from Damian Lillard not too long ago that he says like he doesn't deserve it. Now, it's not just him being petty or anything, but it's due to the fact that like Damian Lillard had a solid point. Like he said, why is Curry in the top three contention for the MVP race? And he was the eighth seed. Like Damian Lillard basically did the same exact thing, and we all wanted him to be in the MVP race. And for some reason, he wasn't even in contention. Like he was like, I believe, ranked 10th or 15th in that MVP race. So I kind of agree with him. Like it all depends, basically, I should say, like what is he playing tournaments? Like Curry can play out of his mind. And if you're telling me like that's what it takes to get an MVP, and they still didn't make it, then the MVP might be turning into a joke, like slowly and slowly. Like it's turning more into like that popularity, like you said, the popularity contest. Like they just want a certain person to win it so they can boost their legacy. Now, another person like that's not up there that I really think that should be in that list, even though I believe Jokic should win it all. That's my pick. Chris Paul, honestly, this guy went to a team that hasn't been in the playoffs since what, like the 2010s at
Oh,
most.
since the Steve Nash days at least.
Even see, like even that even proves my point. Like he brought a team that was in rebuilding mode, had no direction, right into the number 2 seed, and they wound up winning the first round against the Lakers. Like that's absurd.
First game, not the first round. Let's not get ahead of ourselves over there.
Okay. First round.
LeBron gets better as the series goes on, my guy. He's a boxer. It's gonna go 7. You watch.
Okay. But like proving my point, when he was on Houston wasn't even that good, even especially when they had James Harden. They went all the way to the Western Conference Finals when he was on the Clippers.
Then when he got hurt, what happened?
Houston
choked. Blue game 6 and 7.
Basically. And I thought like it was going to be the same thing with the Suns, but they pulled back, and then when he returned, they went right back into form. And personally, like he's kind of like my MVP. Like I kind of see him as that guy that should be getting some recognition. Now, I'm done with my whole entire spiel, but Dan, I'll let you take the floor.
Let me get it. All right, so it's Yusuf. I appreciate that dark horse candidate, and Charles Barkley, I think, actually said the same thing you did. I think he agreed that Chris Paul was like right up there. But it's a 2-horse race. It's gonna be Jokic and Curry for sure. Embiid played 51 games and there was 72. And that's just not gonna get it done. If you want to win MVP, you got to be there at least 60 plus games. If you miss over 20 games and your team's still the 1 seed, you're not the MVP in my opinion. There's no shot. Jokic played every game. I mean, there's nothing better than a guy who's always available. That's what the old saying is. I'd rather have a guy who's always available than a guy who you don't know when he's going to play. So he played 72 games, and Curry only played 63, which is not bad. He missed 9 games. And without Curry, the Warriors' record was 1-7. Although as the year went on, I think they got a little better with him off the court. But I mean, I can go through all the stats. I mean, the stats are close. The stats are real close. Without Jamal Murray, here's the key. What do you think? Give me what you think Denver went without Jamal Murray without looking it up.
All right, without Jamal Murray, I would say
he missed 20 games. I'll give you the exact number. 20 games. He missed 20 games.
Oh, he missed 20 games?
20 games. I'll tell the exact number. So you go ahead and tell me what you think.
Give or take, I see them at least maybe 10-10.
Okay. Jack, what do you think? You're muted, Jack.
You muted yourself, Jack.
I was like,
I'm sorry. I just thought I was getting talked over the whole time, so that's on me. But it happens every time. I forget I'm on mute all the time.
What do you think he went? What do you think they went without Jamal Murray, Jack?
Well, I know that they competed because I was keeping track of them. I was waiting for them to like really fall down the boards on the standings, right. And they really didn't. So I'm gonna say 13-7. I think.
Yeah, you looked it up. You know that.
No. I did not look it up.
Okay. It's funny actually. Guess. They went 13-7 without Jamal Murray, and I'm pretty sure they started like 8-0 or something, or 8-1 or something crazy without Jamal, and obviously they fell off a little bit. But I think the biggest thing I look at is, I mean, Jokic shot 56% from the field, and Curry shot 48. However, Curry shot 42% from 3, which is just stupid. I mean, that's just not fair. And then you look at their court on-off. I mean, on-off, the Warriors were +8 with Curry on the court compared to when he's off the court, which is unbelievable. I mean, Jokic +6.4, best in the league. Curry, obviously. And then you look at Jokic just on the court, though, is 6.6, and Curry's is +4, which obviously Jokic wins there. And then you look at the usage rate, which is the biggest thing that I love about Jokic. You look at a guy like Luka Doncic, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James. You look in history, Magic Johnson. You look at these guys. They always need the ball. They're so ball dominant. And that's the thing that is so refreshing about Jokic. His usage rate, James Harden, another one, is 29%. I mean, and Curry's is only 33%. I mean, they're always moving the ball. You give it to Jokic, you curl, and he just gives you on a curl screen. I mean, they're always moving. And that's the thing about Curry that I love. The guy is, without a doubt, the best off-ball player ever. I mean, he's just without the ball, he's better. He's better without the ball than he is with the ball, which is unheard of for an MVP level candidate. Unanimous MVP player. But I think I got to give it to Jokic this year just because, I mean, he played every game. I mean, he didn't miss one game. I mean, without him, I mean, who knows what they would be. And you look at his turnover, he had one less turnover to assist ratio, 1.7 to Curry's 2.7. And I just look at his offensive rating. Curry's is 114 and Jokic was 120. So I mean, right there is just that's 6 points difference. And I think I gotta go with Jokic. I think he doesn't get the hype because he's kind of slow how he plays, and even he admits that he's slow, man. But I think I'm with you, Seth, that Jokic, or unless you think Chris Paul should win, but Jokic definitely is. I think they're gonna win it. I think there's a little voter fatigue. What you were talking about, Jack, with Giannis. I don't it was kind of with LeBron. He kept winning, and they were like, all right, let's just give it to Derrick Rose. Like, just get LeBron out of here. I think they get voter fatigue, and they just don't want that guy to win. So I do see that with Giannis a little bit, but I do think Jokic deserves it the most out of all those guys. I do think Jokic, and I think he's statistically it just has. I mean, obviously Curry more points per game, but if you just look at the basic 5 more assists per game for Jokic, man, I mean he's a center. Like what? Who does that as a center? 10 point or 8.3 assists per game. And Curry had 5.8. So, I was looking at the rebounds. But yeah, so three more assists per game, which is for a center is unheard of. So, I mean, it's just crazy. It's just crazy to see Jokic. I think he's the greatest passing center of all time, without a doubt. Maybe the greatest passing big man ever, probably. To be honest, I can't think of another one that even comes to my mind.
Do you believe he's the first ever point center that's gonna come in?
You think so? We were just talking about that with KG, right? And Tim Duncan. You think he's gonna inspire just next generation to just be these guys, these big guys who can pass out of that pick and roll, man? That's what you're saying.
Because basically, it's like you see like LeBron bringing up the ball sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes you see Giannis bringing up the ball. Now Jokic is bringing up the ball, and he knows what he's doing.
That's true. Yeah.
It's only a matter of time till we see that young stud that's coming out of college or overseas that's going to do the same exact thing, but at a higher level.
These European guys, man, they just know how to pass. I mean, look at a guy like Luka. Look at this guy, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. It's like these guys, man. In Europe, they just teach them about the passing.
It's all about skills. It's all about skill style basketball in Europe.
That's what I'm saying, man. They just got the passing. The fundamentals are just so precise over in Europe, man. I tell you what, these guys are just so good. But yeah.
But anyway, with that being said, guys, we're gonna go like this. I want your first round predictions as our last topic. Like who you think's coming out in the first round, who's going into the second round. I believe that's the Elite Eight, and we'll start off with the Western Conference since they're the first conference to go out. Jack, I'll give you the floor. Who do you got?
We're going to start with the Western Conference. All right. Well, we're talking just the first round, like all four series.
Yeah. All 4 series. Who's coming out?
Okay. Well, the Nuggets Blazers series is kind of a tough call. Obviously the Blazers won round 1. I think, the Nuggets being the higher seed, obviously they're the favorite to come out of this. Like I said, I don't think the Nuggets are going to go super far. I think they're going to get bumped in the next round. I think whoever wins the series is going to get bumped in the next round regardless. But as it currently stands, without Jamal Murray, we can say all that we want, all the things we want about Jokic, being a point center and all these other things. And, I like Denver. I think they got good chemistry, but I think that without other like super talented pieces, I just don't see them making it past the Blazers. I think it's going to be a good series. I think it's going to probably go to like 6 or 7 games. But I think the Blazers are going to come out of the first round with a victory there. Lakers, Suns. Controversial one, I know. I know I've been saying it all. You know, you've heard me all night. I'm saying the Suns. I'm gonna say the Suns in like 6 or 7. I think that this is the weakest we've seen LeBron in years. AD is not playing up to par right now. With the superstar like generational player that he's been in the past, and like how he was last year with the Lakers. I just don't see it in AD right now. So I think the Suns, if Chris Paul, if that shoulder injury doesn't nag him too much over the next couple of games, I think the Suns are going to come out of that series with a win. Biggest upset of the first round to this point. Grizzlies, Jazz. It's going to be the Jazz. There's no chance that. I mean, I like Ja Morant. I like the Grizzlies, this new look Grizzlies. They're finally kind of getting that. I mean, they're still a good defensive team, always have been, but I think they're kind of going through a new look, kind of some shifts. But I still see the Jazz coming out of it with the win. I think they're going to win it. Maybe if they're not going to sweep them, they're going to win it in 5 games. Then we got, what was the other series? Mavs Clippers. I'm going to go with the Mavs on this one. I think they got better chemistry. I think they have a better culture down there. Like I said, I think that there have been a lot of things wrong with the Clippers this season. I think that they're overhyped. I think they were overhyped last year. I mean, they looked better last year, but PG has never been a big playoff performer. History shows it when he was with Indiana and with the infamous OK3. This man just can't make it out of the first round. It's ridiculous. So I see Luka and KP making it to the next round. I really like the Mavericks, and I think they have more chemistry. They've always been competitive. I see them making it to the next round.
All right, fair enough. Now, Dan, I'm coming up to you. We're starting off with the West.
All right, I'll start with the West. All right, I got it up right here. All right, Utah, I'll do the easiest one. Utah, Memphis. They got the Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert, in the center. Even though I don't think he deserves it, I mean, he's going to win it just because he seems to always win it. Utah's going to win. I think they'll sneak out one in Memphis probably, so I think in 5. Denver and Portland, I'll go over that quick. I mean, it's just so tough in a playoff series without Jamal Murray, man. I mean, Jokic, he does so much. But I mean, if those other guys don't step up, like Michael Porter Jr., he's got to play out of his mind for them to win that series. I don't think he's going to do it. I actually think Portland will probably bump him just because Jamal Murray is such a huge loss. In a 7-game series, you can really focus in on how to beat Jokic, how to stop him, or slow him down at least. So I think that's going to be the key. And I think they will. I think it'll probably go 6 or 7, but I think probably 6, but I think Portland will pull it out. We got Clippers, Dallas. I mean, I don't want to pick against the Clippers just because, like, I just feel like they always choke, and I just kind of feel bad. but I just think, like, they're going to choke again. So if Porzingis stays healthy, I think the Mavericks pull it out. Last year he got hurt, and that was a big thing, and they called that BS, flagrant foul or whatever he got in that. He got ejected that first game. So the Meta one last year in the bubble, honestly, without Porzingis. But I think if he stays healthy, and I mean, can you imagine Luka if he had a more consistent second guy? I mean, who stayed healthy? My gosh, dude, that team would be crazy. Like if he had a guy like James Harden or like KD or something, like Curry or something, Klay Thompson. Oh my God, forget it. But so I think I'm gonna go with the Clippers. God, it's just a toss up for me. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna go with Dallas just because I like Luka, and if Porzingis stays healthy, I think they'll win. I think it'll go 7. I think it'll go full 7. And then Phoenix, LA. I told you, Yusuf, during the game. LA missed a lot of shots. They missed a lot of shots. Caldwell Pope, I mean, he had an atrocious game. I don't know the stats off the top of my head. I could probably look right here quick. But I mean, holy moly, did Caldwell Pope. Let's see what he shot. Caldwell Pope went 2 for 9. Davis 5 for 16. I mean, that's just not going to get it done. So I think, I think they'll shoot better. I think they'll be fine, LA. I think they'll win next game, and I think it'll go the full 7. I think Game 7 will be a toss-up, but I think LeBron will show through. And I think Chris Paul, I think that shoulder is going to be a detriment. I think it's going to be a big thing unless they really juice him up with painkillers and such. I think it's going to be a detriment, and I think it's really going to impact him. And I think the Lakers are going to find a way to slow down Devin Booker, because today he had 34, man, on 13 of 26 shooting. I mean, that's just not going to get done if you're Lakers. You got to slow him down. So I think they'll make an adjustment. I think somebody, Drummond or Harrell, I think they'll play less minutes, because or AD's just got to figure out a way to play with him. Because right now, I think Drummond's holding AD back, and I don't know what AD's doing. Today was just, I don't know who he was, but it wasn't AD. That's all I know. If he doesn't get it going, I mean, his defense is still solid, but gosh, his offense today, he didn't want anything to do with the ball. He's playing too much Warzone. I've been seeing him play with swag and stuff, man. He's been playing too much Warzone, that guy.
All right, so going with my predictions. Honestly, I'm going for that upset. I see the Mavs going over the Clippers. Honestly, maybe in a 5-game or 6-game series. Now, of course, the Clippers are going to bounce back. You have Kawhi. Hopefully, playoff P does not show his true side and actually shows up for a change. But I feel like Luka will be just too much for them to handle, especially he's basically a point guard that's LeBron James size. And I saw like the foul that Patrick Bailey had on him, and he yelled out, "You're too small." Like he basically is like, "I like this." I'm like, wow, like he's in it, man. He's pissed. He's ready to go. So I have the Mavs, and I have the Mavs in 6. Going for the Trailblazers to the Nuggets. Honestly, the Jamal Murray injury is going to affect them a lot. So give or take, I have the Trailblazers winning it out in 5 games. Damian, it's just too much for them to handle. They have no one to guard him. Of course, Nikola Jokic is going to do the best he can, but at the end of the day, it's just too much for him. So anyway, starting with the Utah Jazz and the Memphis Grizzlies. Honestly, like I feel like the Grizzlies will win 1, maybe 2. I'm really leaning towards 1, but the Jazz, it look like they're ready to go. They're ready to make a push, and I have them winning in 5 games.
I don't think they need Donovan Mitchell. He's out tonight, but I don't think they need him to win the series. I think they should rest him this series. I think
they should, but you never know what John Morant might do.
If it gets close, if it goes to 6, I think if it goes to game 6, I think they should be like, dude, you got to play.
It's smart, but like you never know, man. You might give them that momentum.
Right.
And last but not least, the Lakers Suns. Like Dan, of course, you and me were talking prior. This is going to be a dogfight. Like we are going to witness it. It's going to get gritty. It's going to get grindy. People are going to get ejected. People are going to fight to the last breath. I thought the whole fans in the Arizona stadium were fucking about to go and throw hands with the entire Lakers team. How excited they got. Like, this is going to be a well thought out series. I still feel like LeBron and AD are going to pull some type of miracle and win it out in 6 games. Of course, the Suns wound up the game 1 victory, 99-100. But I just feel like the Lakers were just off. Like, everybody was off. Like, I believe this is probably like the last call before they go to small ball, where they used to, where they can thrive in. I feel like that's like the only way they could do anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Lakers in 6. But moving on to the final one, the Eastern Conference. Jack, we're going back to you again. Who do you got?
Excuse me for my 21 Savage impression, but Brooklyn in 5 in that first series. I think, Dan, you're right. I think that the Celtics will probably pick up one of those, garbage time games, maybe game 3 or 4. But by that point, it's going to be too late. Maybe the Nets go up by 3, and then I think Boston squeaks one out, and then I think they lose the next game. There's just too much firepower on the offensive side for the Nets. They have way too much talent. This team is amazing on paper and when you actually see them play the game. I like Tatum. I think they might have had a shot at winning if they had Brown. I don't think they would have been seeded this low if they had Brown. I know the Celtics were making a little bit of a comeback in the second half of the season. I think they could have maybe placed 5th or 6th in the Eastern Conference if he didn't get injured. But the chips fell as they did, and now the Celtics are in trouble. So I don't think that they're winning that series. Washington and Philadelphia. with all my heart, I really want Washington to win this series. And personally, I want them to. Being a Nets fan, and just a fan of New York sports in general, Philadelphia teams have always been the bane of my existence. So at the end of the day, I think that Philadelphia is going to win that series. I think they're going to win it in like either if they're not like again, if they're not going to sweep them, they're going to win it in 5. I like Russell Westbrook. I love what Bradley Beal's been doing this season. I never really even paid that much attention to Bradley Beal until this year, but he was going lights off in the first half of the season. His team made a great comeback to come back to where they are, but there's just too much firepower for the Sixers. Maybe not even firepower, but they have a potential MVP. Running things at the helm. Ben Simmons has always been great. We criticize Ben Simmons for what he's not good at, but he's a great player. We can't deny that. Tobias Harris, I think they're winning that series. So then we got the Hawks and the Knicks. I think this is probably out of all the first round series, this is probably the most hyped one out of all the 8 playoff series we're going to see, because neither team is going anywhere down the road. But it's going to be interesting to see like who is like rising to the occasion more for future years. Like we've seen Julius Randle have an amazing breakout year. On the other hand, like Trae Young finally has some good pieces behind him. I like what the Hawks they really just quietly kind of stayed in the race this year in the East. So I think it's going to go to 7 games. It's going to take me a minute to think about it. You know what? I think the Knicks in 7.
Game 7 in the Garden, definitely Knicks, man.
Yep, the energy is going to be too much. I think the Knicks have a lot of momentum. Knicks Nation is really behind these guys. I got friends who are Knicks fans. They are so hyped for this series. I know for a fact, I think they have more momentum coming into this thing than Atlanta does. No offense, like not knocking on Atlanta at all, but I think the Knicks I think they want it more right now. I think they want this series more. So I'm going to have to go with them on that one. And then last series, let's see, what do we got? Heat Bucks. You know what? I really don't like it. Kind of relates to last season. I really don't know how Miami made it as far as they did. I think that Boston got robbed last year in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think Boston deserved to go to the NBA Finals last year. So at the end of the day, though, I'm going to have to go with Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee's at least going to make it past the first round. I know that they've had, their troubles in the playoffs in the past. I don't really like Jimmy Butler as much as everybody does. I love him as a person. I love his social media stuff. The whole thing with the with the guy driving a Lambo. He's like, "Oh, you driving?" Like, I love Jimmy Butler. I love his work ethic. I think he's a very good player. I don't think he's a superstar though. I don't think they have like amazing background pieces. They have like all solid role players. There's nobody who really stands out as that team as a second superstar. Like Tyler Hero has been on a decline this year. He's not really helping him out. I don't even know. I think Udonis Haslem is literally on this team because he's been grandfathered in at this point. Like nobody wants to say, "Hey, let's get rid of Udonis Haslem." Like he's always just going to be there for some reason. Miles Leonard. I like Miles Leonard. I will say I think he's the closest thing that we can actually call a star compared to Jimmy Buckets. But overall, I just don't think that they have the pieces to make it past the Bucks.
All right. I guess I'll continue on from here. I'm gonna start with the Atlanta Hawks versus Knicks. Honestly, of course, Jack, I'm a diehard Knicks fan, of course, and I'm very proud of like the organization of like what they're doing and everything like they brought up, especially the hiring of Tom Thibodeau, getting crucial role players. I believe that he got Derrick Rose back, Julius Randle having a most improved season that a lot of people thought like this team was going to be like last place, and they turned some heads and they're number 4 in the Eastern Conference. That's crazy. Like no one thought it was going to happen. And I'm glad to see like them back in the Garden. Like I really wanted to see them play in the playoffs. A lot of Knicks fans are really New York fans are basically happy that this is happening. Sadly, we're losing game 1 right now. I did see the live update, 31-23, second quarter. But I see this game as you guys know going to 7 games. Like it's all going to go down to the net and grit of who wants it more and who wants to prove like they're going to be a threat within the coming years. But I have the Knicks going in Game 7. It's probably going to be close, maybe last second buzzers here and there. We just got to figure out how to stop Trae Young. We figured that out. I believe it's going to be smooth sailing from there. Going on to the next one, Wizards and Sixers. Now, I love the Wizards to death. I love Beal. I like Westbrook, but he does a lot of stuff like bit too much, where I don't agree with a lot of the time. But I feel like it's potentially, excuse me, but it's going to be a sweep. Sixers 4-0. Washington's going to be gone. I feel like the Wizards need a little bit more key players and maybe not like certainly a superstar, but in other words, more of like someone that you can rely on as a skill player. And they just don't have it on this roster yet. They can like Bill and Westbrook can pop off for both 40, but if the other team's not going to show, what's the point? You know. Now going on to the Celtics and Nets. Of course, me and a fellow other crunch time partner Matt. We're gonna go see Boston and the Nets in Boston. So that's gonna be interesting for Game 4. Jack, you can come. You already know. Dan, you as well. And but really, I see this game going into like maybe Game 6, depending. It all depends on the Nets big three. Who's going to show up? Who's going to be like, all right, guys, we need the legit focus. We didn't have time to practice, but it's go time. It's do or die. Because this is basically Brooklyn gave up their entire future all the way to 2025 for James Harden for one player. And they're going to have to recruit like key role defensive players here and there, trying to make them complete. But if you don't prove that you're a threat now, then this trade basically Houston won, because all KD has to do is be like, I'm leaving. Kyrie can retire, and then it's just James Harden all over again. But I have the Nets winning this round. They still got a lot of things to figure out. It's going to be pretty good. Now, going on to the last one, which is the Heat and Bucks. This is going to determine who's going to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I feel like the Heat might pull it off. I feel like Giannis, he has the assets, he has the weapons, but they literally just won by 2 points by Chris Middleton game winner. If this went into overtime, who knows what Miami was going to do? But anyway, Miami, I feel like they'll win it in 6. It's just too much. Everybody knows their roles. Giannis has to step up. He didn't show it in the last 2 minutes of the game, especially in a free throw that it's critical. Like, you're the go-to guy they depend on. You should be wanting this more than anybody else. Like, you have to prove, especially all the money that they paid for you. And if you flop in the first round, then you're basically wasting each other's time at this point. Now, Dan, going to you.
All right. Last, hopefully not least. I'll just go right into that. Great segue. I'll just go right into the Bucks Heat for you. Giannis shot 10 of 27, 37%, 0 for 3 from 3, 6 of 13, 46% from the free throw line with 5 turnovers and just +2 in the box score. That's just not going to get it done, plain and simple. They got lucky and they still won. He did that bad and they still won. That's how I look at it. I mean, that's a good thing. That's a good sign for them. I mean, but you can look at Jimmy Butler, though, and he shot 4 of 22, 18%. It's just that's another guy who's not going to get it done. 2 of 9 from 3. Jimmy Butler has never been a good 3-point shooter, so I don't know why he's pulling up 9 times from 3. I mean, that was literally the Lakers' strategy, was to let him shoot in Game 6, and it worked. But I still like the Bucks. I think I just think they're too much, like kind of like Jack talks about. I mean, I don't think Jimmy Butler's a superstar in the league, to be honest with you. I think he's a really good player. I think he's a supreme defensive player, but I'm not a huge fan of his offense, and I just don't think they're going to pull it out over the Bucks. Not this year, at least. I think that last year was kind of weird. And the Bucks don't have the expectations of last year. You're the 1 seed, you got to get it done. So, and Giannis got hurt too last year. Don't forget, he rolled his ankle or whatever the case was. I can't remember exactly. In game 2 or 3. So, I think I like the Bucks still. I like the Bucks in the finals. I like them going to the finals still. So I'm going to go with the Bucks in 6 or 7 for sure. I think probably 6 would be more of a safe bet. But I think every game will be close. Like yesterday. I don't think the Heat will roll over any game. They're just too gritty. I mean, Butler just instills that in them. I'll go with the Sixers, Wizards next. I mean, Yusuf knows. I'm not high on Westbrook. Never have been. Never will be. I just think he's not scalable at all. I mean, if you put him on a good team, I think the team gets worse. So I think, I mean, he has to be the guy, the center of attention. I mean, look what he did on Houston when they had him and James Harden. I mean, it was a joke. They were terrible because he just can't. What are you going to have him stand on the 3-point line and shoot? His career is probably like, what, 20% 3-point shooter or something. His true shooting percentage this year is 50%, which is 7% below the league average. So I don't like Westbrook at all, and I don't think they're going to win even a game. I think they get swept. I don't see them pulling out unless Bradley Beal puts up 50. I mean, I like Bradley Beal. I do like Bradley Beal, but second in scoring this year. So I like him. I think they can squeak out one if he just goes absolutely nuts one game and Embiid gets hurt or something. As for your Knicks and Hawks, Yusuf, I see it's 36-32. I will say, I think somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was Jack, about Giannis being AI. I think Julius Randle right now is the Allen Iverson for the New York Knicks. People tend to have, especially with New York, people tend to have this, like you said, the Knicks were supposed to finish last. So when a team doesn't finish last, everybody goes, oh my God, these people are crazy. Like, they weren't supposed to do this. So I think Julius Randle is getting a little too much hype. And I think Tom Thibodeau is getting too much hype. And there's a saying in coaching, you get too much blame when you lose, and you get too much glory when you win as a coach. It goes both ways. So I think he's getting too much glory right now. I think they're defensively, they have been better. But I don't think, because think about this. If the Knicks next year, if Julius Randle puts up the same numbers next year and they finish 9th, nobody's going to say, oh my God, Julius Randle, what a guy. They're going to say, why didn't he do more? It's just how it goes. It's just how it goes with that. I think the Hawks, sorry, Yusuf, I think the Hawks pull that series out, man. I think John Collins, Trae Young, Bogdanovich, these guys are too much. I think they win in 5 or 6, honestly. I think they win 5 and 6. Even though the Knicks have home court advantage, which is nice. And then the last series, what's the last one? Who did I know? Oh, the Nets. Yeah. Celtics never really had a chance. 6, I'll give you, that's some balls, Yusuf, to say 6. I'll give you credit, man. I don't have the balls to say they're going to go 6. Jaylen Brown, maybe, if they had Jaylen Brown. Robert Williams played out of his mind yesterday. Would he have like 8 blocks or something? God, that guy, let me see how many blocks Robert Williams had yesterday. He had 9 blocks. He almost had a double-double with blocks, Robert Williams. That dude's a stud. He's going to be a stud in this league. But they don't have the firepower. They just, here's the thing you said about the big 3. They can go on cruise control for this series, man. I'm going to be honest with you. They don't have to be locked in to beat the Celtics. They can just chill. They can just go in there, just a nice pickup game, and they can win a series. How bad? It's just like, they all did pretty well yesterday, considering. KD had a really bad start, and Harden finished 5 of 13, which isn't too good.
Yeah, they
2 of 8 from 3, which is kind of ugly.
They all in total, I believe, had like 80 points.
Yeah, exactly. So they didn't even do that well, and they still had 80 points, which is great. And their defense can be lax against them. They're just not going to get it done. The Celtics, they don't really have too many threats other than Tatum and Marcus Smart. If he's hitting threes, you're kind of just like, all right, whatever. It's kind of like Draymond Green's hitting threes. We're like, all right. Like Mark Jackson said, the 1-3 Draymond Green hits, and then Mark Jackson goes, if you're the Grizzlies and he's making that, just face it, you're going home. So that's pretty much it. Like, if he's hitting threes, I remember in Game 7 a couple years ago in some Cavs, the first half, Draymond Green, oh my God, he was like Curry from 3. And I said, if he stays like that, then it's over. But he's not, and he's sure enough, he did not, and rest is history. So I mean, if Marcus Smart, unless he goes crazy, they're not going to win. I mean, Kemba Walker, injuries have taken its toll on that guy. I mean, that guy was a stud coming out of college. Step back Kemba, cardiac Kemba, whatever you want to call him. I remember forget that shot on at the Garden for UConn, but the guy, he's not the same. So Nets in 4, 5. I think Boston, the crowd just do crazy. I think they'll pull out one just because that crowd will go crazy, and then James Harden and Kyrie will be thinking about the Earth or something, the stars.
How flat it is.
Yeah, so he'll take a game off, Kyrie. He might just sit himself and just say he's got to deal with world hunger or something. I don't know. So
he'll be like, I missed Ramadan. I have to celebrate now. Or
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He'll take a game off, and then KD and Harden will be what? Out of nowhere, and then they'll lose the game because of some crazy circumstance. It won't be like a clean win. It'll be something crazy goes on.
I've seen so many. I feel like KD is realizing now, oh, I have to be friends with this guy. You see videos like Kate. I saw this one video on Instagram the other day. It was something about Kyrie going into some conversation about how the earth is flat, or something about gods or whatever, and some crazy philosophical nonsense. And Katie's standing there
that's one thing. I never liked KD, and I'm still not a big fan of him, but I'll give him credit, man. That guy just wants the ball. He just wants to go out there and play, man. That's all KD wants to do. He's not. He wants to win titles. He's not here for that. KD just wants to go out there, man, like it's a pickup game and have some fun with the boys. That's what I like about KD. He's not out here for the drama. He creates drama, but he still wants.
Have you seen his Twitter? His Twitter is all about just
his Twitter is absurd.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, his Twitter. Yeah. No, I know you're right, but I'm saying when he's on the court though, it's business. I feel for Kyrie, man, it's I still think he's in la la land, even when he's on the court sometimes. I just don't think he's locked in. But KD, man, I feel he wants to he just wants the ball. I mean, he said it before. He's I just want to play, man. Kyrie's never said that. Kyrie's never been I just want to play.
Kyrie's always talked about, other things that are more important in his eyes. But
that's what I'm saying. KD's never been I gotta. So that's one thing I like about KD is I feel he just wants to play. And then Harden, I don't know. He wants to go to the strip club.
I don't blame you.
That's another thing. You know what I'm saying? That's how they could lose. They go Lemon Pepper Lou. He does some crazy, breaks protocol or does this or that. I don't know. Harden and Kyrie are loose cannons. KD's gonna lock it in. He's gonna be locked in for these playoffs. He's not gonna do anything crazy. But those other two, you don't know.
All right, viewers in the comment sections below, I got 2 questions for you. Who do you believe is the true, I should say, MVP of the 2021 season? And secondly, who do you think is going to make it go all the way? Basically, we all know people saying Brooklyn. I hear some people are saying Lakers, but I want to hear from you guys. I believe there's some dark horses in the comments. But anyway, as always, this has been a Crunch Time episode. It's Yusuf, Jack, Dan. It's been a pleasure having you on. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace out.
Sayonara.